golden years. That's what they call those years, just the other side of 60, 70. But for many people, they aren't so golden. For many seniors, their lives are filled with isolation. One of the organizations that helps to end that isolation is internationally known organization Little Brothers, Friends of the Elderly. Tonight we're going to speak with the president of the San Francisco chapter, Michelle Bateman. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
Now, we were talking before the cameras went on about your mission statement, which I think is wonderful, and your motto, which is flowers before bread.
Right.
Explain to us what that means.
Well, there are other organizations that provide food and services to elderly, but what we really aim to do is to bring friendship and to feed the soul. And so Flowers Before Bread is kind of that explanation.
And so when you actually go and visit one of your senior clients, do you actually bring them flowers?
We do. Every visit that we do, that we make to the home, we have flowers, whether it's a rose or a bulb in the spring of some sort, just to kind of bring brightness and happiness to the elder.
Right. Now, Little Brothers, Friends of the Elderly is known here throughout the Bay Area and through the United States, but it's an international organization. Tell those who don't know about it, its history and how it started and where it started.
It started at the aftermath of World War II in France by Armand Marquise, and he worked to reach out to those who were the poorest of the poor at that point, and those were namely the elderly. And so he started doing home visits and bringing food to the elders in Paris, and then it expanded from there and spread throughout Europe in subsequent years. And then in the 50s, it came to the United States in Chicago. So it's been in the U.S. for quite some time. And then chapters developed throughout the U.S. and came to San Francisco in 1991. And right now, our mission is really to relieve isolation and to bring friendship and joy to those in San Francisco.
So how does that work? Do people come to you and say, I would like to volunteer my time, I want to visit so-and-so? Is everyone who comes to you accepted, or, I mean, is there a screening process?
No, definitely. We interview and determine the nature of the inquiry, the volunteer, what their goal is in this request. We have a really strong background in understanding the needs of the elder, and so we have a profile on them and what their interests are, and we try and match that to a volunteer. We have volunteers of all ages. We have people who go independently and they need to be over 18, but we really welcome families to go together, and that can be a mixture of young and adult age people. And so we're very careful about trying to make it a good match. That's a long-lasting match. Our goal is to have an ongoing relationship.
Right. Now, on the other side, how does an elder come to you and say, I need help, or I want help? Because I imagine if one of the issues is they feel isolated, how do they even know to reach out to you that there's a service like this? Right.
It's a good question. We get a lot of references or a lot of referrals from social workers or other healthcare providers who are in the home at some point. A lot of the elders are living in apartment buildings, but some of them are living on their own and really need somebody to kind of make that connection. You know, we are listed in some of the Bay Area services for elders. Other elders refer their friends. If they are getting visits from some of our volunteers, they can say, hey, you should sign up with Little Brothers as well. And so a lot of it is word of mouth. Families that have moved out of the area also will let us know.
And is this just in-home visits, or are there group activities for your clients?
No.
And is that what you call them? Would you call someone who comes to you for service as a client, or how do you identify them?
We call them a friend. We call them, elderly is a technical term, but we call them a friend, an old friend. Everybody's a client. Our volunteers are our clients, and our elders are our clients, because we want to make this a fulfilling experience for both people. But we have a mixture of home visits and parties and gatherings. And so depending on the season, we might have a holiday party, and we might have a summer barbecue where we'll pick them up from their home and bring them to a location where they can get out and get some social time with other elders in the same way.
Right. So I'm sure there is no identical client profile, but in general, what does an elder who receives services from Little Brothers, Friends of the Elderly look like? Who are they?
They may be somebody who has family or friends that have passed on. They might be, the age group has changed over the years. They're younger now than they used to be. But they might have had people move away. They may have some mental or health issues that kind of put them at a disadvantage. They are typically in a middle or lower income bracket, But we see people from all ranges. We see people from all neighborhoods in San Francisco, all ethnic backgrounds. We have a lot of foreign language speakers, and so we try and find people who can serve that need and also communicate with them on a good level.
Well, also, I mean, here in San Francisco, one of the communities that there's been a good deal of attention around lately is the graying LGBT community, the gay and gray. So do you have clients in that community as well?
Absolutely, and it's really an area that we're hoping to expand more and connect more. We have a great program manager who's reaching out to arenas and trying to find ways that we can serve all different groups, and the LGBT community is absolutely high on our list.
So how did you get involved in this?
Yeah, I got involved in college. I did a summer internship with Little Brothers Friends of the Elderly in their Chicago chapter as an activities coordinator, and I'd always had a close relationship with my grandparents, and my mother's a physical therapist and worked with elderly specifically, so I had a lot of exposure to that growing up. And then I continued when I moved to San Francisco, got reacquainted with Little Brothers here locally, and started volunteering at the Thanksgiving and holiday times, and then eventually joined the board.
Do you find that that sort of connection when you were growing up is part of the profile of people who come to you? I mean, for instance, I was basically raised by my grandmother. My husband and I have friends who joke and they say, "Are you going to adopt?" I'm like, "No, we tend to adopt at the other end of the spectrum."
Right.
Do you find that's a common tale?
Absolutely. We even kind of call it adopting a grandparent.
Yes.
This nature of maybe their grandparents or their parents are living far away from them, but they have time and the desire to make a nice relationship with somebody of a different generation and to kind of pay respect to their elders and have a bit of history kind of connected to them. So I definitely think there's a lot of people who have good relationships with their grandparents or who never did and they wanted that and they're missing it.
And this sounds kind of clinical, but it's probably a fact. We're all living longer.
Right.
The median age for all of us in the United States, at least, is going up. Are you finding there's more of a need now for the services of Little Brothers Friends of the Elderly than there was 10, 15, certainly 20 years ago?
Absolutely. People are living longer, but we're not keeping up with the quality of life. And so I think organizations like ours are more in demand, and not just for the clinical services or not just for the basics, but for the quality of life, the friendship, the desire to be a part of a community and to have people to talk to remember the past and to just kind of keep them going. Definitely.
How do you liaise with the social service network and the medical organizations? For instance, I'm sure that it is more common than not that maybe you have a client who's in their 60s or 70s and maybe they develop Alzheimer's or something else, dementia. How do you transition a friend into someone who needs to have more medical expertise?
Right. A lot of our friends already do have that situation, and so we have connections with the different hospitals in the area, different Onlock and Curry Senior Center and Institute on the Aging. We have a lot of great partnerships and relationships with organizations. So, when people come to us and say, we just visited, Joe, and he seems that he might need a little more attention, that's a great thing for us because we're another pair of eyes, and we can connect them with the right medical needs or social services or whatnot. So the people in our office have a great kind of list of services that they can make recommendations.
Now, this week you have a fundraiser coming up,
That's
correct?
Right, that's right.
And I love it. I don't think I've seen one quite like it. You're raising money. It's a golf tournament.
Right.
So are we going to have some clients both on both sides of the aisle, as it were, playing golf for Little Brothers? If
they were of the caliber of the U.S. Open, perhaps. I think we're going to have enthusiasts for sure. We are manning a concession stand at the U.S. Open Golf Tournament at the Olympic Club this week. I'm really excited. We're going to have a huge number of volunteers representing Little Brothers Friends of the Elderly, and we'll be able to kind of reap the rewards of some of that participation. It's going to be really helpful for our organization.
When you say manning, staffing a concession, there are people going to be, selling drinks, sandwiches?
Exactly.
But it's not at the start. I mean, this is at what hole?
7.
So at the 7th hole,
That's
you've got people who, if they want to help Little Brothers, Friends of the Elderly, they can be there and watch some of the great players in the world.
That's right. That's right. It's a group effort, so we will be able to benefit from the percentage of the overall proceeds, and this is supposed to be a banner year. I mean, I think tickets are just about sold out.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really helpful for us.
Yeah. I mean, what are some of the golfers we're going to see?
Rory McIlroy from Northern Ireland is like, all the rage. He's going to be really strong. I've been reading about him in the Examiner almost every day. So that's definitely somebody that I think people will be excited to see.
So you'll be out there on hole number 7 that day?
I will be out there probably several days, yes.
Yeah. In our last few moments, tell me a story that's really touched you.
Yeah. We have some elders who have survived the Holocaust, some elders who've really seen life pass and some challenges, and it's amazing how strong they are and how beautiful their memories are, even of difficult times. And we just love hearing stories from our volunteers, and we try and keep those updated on our website, littlebrothersSF.org, and we really like to share those because that's really the meaningful relationship.
That's right. So sharing these stories helps their lives.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We've been speaking to Michelle Bateman of Little Brothers, Friends of the Elderly. I'm David Perry. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on 10%.